What is up, you guys? So, I finally have power back on. We had a little bit of a hurricane here. So, now that everything is starting to get back to normal, I wanted to make another vlog. And I kind of wanted to switch things up a bit. So, I know usually I talk about a variety of different things. So, in this vlog, I kind of want to teach you guys how to use some very basic energy that I use when I was learning how to use my energy and healing and for a variety of different things. So I'll start with the very basics. So when I first started learning how to use energy to heal and things like that, I just had to learn how to even use energy. So first, what I had to do, I had to just kind of get aware of my energy body. Um, the best way I can describe it is imagine like you closing your eyes and you're putting like your hand like next to you and you can kind of sense that. But that's easy. So imagine that feeling when you're somewhere and you feel as though someone's behind you and then you turn around and someone's trying to mess with you, but you feel that. That's like the starting point of where I started with. So I learned that you can see my hand here. What I learned is that I would just kind of go like this and kind of just rub, not really my hand. Now I'm not touching it, but I would just kind of rub right here to see if I feel anything. And over time, I would obviously feel the heat, but I would feel, I would develop my sense of awareness with the energy there. And I would move it around and I would see what all I feel. And sometimes it was tingling, sometimes it was just like a little pressure and things like that. So over time, I learned to develop that. And that got me aware of my energy body, so to speak. So I would recommend doing that a bit. If you have not used energy at all, that's kind of a starting point. You can research that as well, like how to feel my energy body and little exercises like that. Um, but if you are already kind of like aware of that and you feel that, we're just going to take it up a level. What I learned with my guides, they're the elements fire, water, earth, air, and lightning. But what they taught me in the beginning was to pretty much learn how to use their elements or use their energy for me to discover more about myself. So, what I mean by that is, I learned a lot about fire, water, earth, and air and the energy that they provide and things like that. And everybody is different. I'll say that. So you may feel something completely different than what I felt, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through the basics just to kind of get you something so you can kind of play around with. But when I started my first element was water. Because at the time I was just very chill, go with the flow. That was just where my energy resonated with the most. So, what I learned with water is that water is healing. It has healing benefits. It teaches you about flow, movement, letting things go, emotions, and so many things like that. So, I use water's energy to help me understand my emotions, my flow, things I needed to let go, and healing. So what I would do for simple healing things is I would just imagine like water energy coming around my hand, and I would place it on like my we'll say this part right here. So if I hurt this part or something, I just imagine there's water around my hand, and then I just place it there, and I would just kind of rub it. As I'm doing this, my arms are like tingling, but whatever. As I would do this, I would feel the pain start to go away. So I would use that, I want to say, energy or that element to evoke that. But one thing I want to say is don't develop a dependency on the elements because you're connected to everything. So really what's happening is that you're using the elements as I want to say a catalyst or a trigger to evoke that ability that's already in you. So you just kind of need to use something to kind of get that energy within you moving. So I wanted to say that don't get dependent on them. just don't get dependent on them, because then you'll think, oh, the only way I can heal is if I use water. So no, water is a good trigger for that healing element and things like that. So just keep that in mind. Switching to another element, I will go with earth. Earth at the time I was very, still am very grounded, very patient to certain things, very patient, and just all the while just kind of connected. So I was just in my zone, and I never really had to worry about the whole grounding thing because I was just always grounded or whatever. So I would use the earth element to I want to say bring stability. That was the biggest thing I learned, is bringing stability sometimes in my emotions. I would use it sometimes to just stop everything for a minute, for me to just to move stuff here, like, okay, let me understand this, let me move that over there. I would also use it for strength, because sometimes there has been some moments where I have wanted to like take the whole, you know what, I'm spiritual, I'm being nice, I just wanted to take that off and just like, you know what, I'm gonna kill you today. I'm just helping you transition. Like, I wanted to be that person sometimes. So I was like, you know what? No, I need strength and I need patience. So that was the biggest thing that helped me with Earth, was just my emotions and be using Earth's energy to like save others from myself. Because I wanted to kill them. Like, we all had that moment. So another thing is with the element Earth, there was something I learned, that with the stability, there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of power in the earth, that when you really connect with it and you run it through your body, you just feel amazing. You have to do it. Like, the best exercise I would say is sit down on the earth. It's like grounding, what they do, but sit down on the earth. Imagine you're growing roots into, like, from your body into the earth. And then now imagine bringing that into like your whole being, not just a little bit, like completely bring it in yourself and just rising and growing with it like a tree. Amazing. You have to experience that for yourself. Me, when I did that, I felt like parts of me were growing that I wasn't aware of. So I just felt like I was expanding. But again, so what I would do sometimes with the earth energy, I use it on myself, and then when I was with some friends who were kind of all over the place, and I would just run energy through them, I would imagine that I have, like, I'm connected to the earth. There's roots or vines growing from my hands, and I would kind of rest that on their shoulders or whatnot, or just whatever, wherever I was intuitively led to go. Rest it on there and imagine the roots coming out of my hands into their body, and just kind of relaxing them and grounding them and bringing them like centered and stuff like that. And the benefits was amazing. Like, these people that I would like do this to, I mean, they're crazy. I'm gonna say it. My friends are crazy. So when I run that energy through them, they're just completely like chill. They're like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna go in there and set the place on fire today. You know, I'm gonna breathe. I'm just gonna relax. You know, I remember the one lady I did want to kill. She has a daughter. And you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it today. These are the friends I still hang around with, because I have those moments too. But you'll be surprised that earth energy can really calm you down and save lives. But the next element is air. So air, at the time, this would be a few years ago, at the time, I didn't get along with air. My guide as well. Air was, he was very childlike to me at the time, and I just didn't deal with that childlike energy. I'm like, okay, I need you to grow up. I need you to be like I don't know, I need you to come to me as someone who's like, dang it, ancient, you know. That's what I resonated with. So he would come to me as this child and goofy and laughing. I'm just like, I can't do this with you. I can't. I'm like, just let me talk to the rest of them. But what I learned was that at that time, I didn't want to deal with childlike energy, because I was just so serious all the time. I was so, you need to grow up. You need to get grown, pretty much. So with that being said, that was a learning lesson in itself. So I had to change some stuff. After I did that and I started to accept Air for him being like all childlike, it made things easier. Air allowed me to really truly let go of attachments, things that held me down, that was just heavy on me. So thoughts, emotions, whatever it is, thought patterns, beliefs, things like that. One thing I want to say is that healing can be in a variety of different ways. Healing doesn't necessarily have to be you have a pain and it goes away. Healing can be literally you healing your mind of the way you do things, or you're healing just your emotions and where they're like locked and stored at. Or it could be healing like perceptions that you have of yourself and others that really need to, you need to like drop that. So I want to say healing, for me, how I define it is, if you look up the origin of the word healing, it means to bring whole. So there are some things you may need to let go to bring yourself back to being whole. That's one of the things I always like talk about. You need to be whole. So in so doing that, as I decided to be more childlike, it helped with a lot of things. I wasn't so serious. I was able to really, I want to say, let people do them, in a sense of, I would see people and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, grow up. So, but now it's just like, okay, well, this person wants to come out here and run around. What did he do? Run down the street in his boxers, almost get hit by a car, and then trip on a leaf and almost fell off of this little bridge into the water. I let him do him. You would think I'm making that up, but this is my life. I see things that I just don't think should be possible, but they are. And I just learned to, okay, agree with it and let it go. So that helped me a lot with that. But I'm getting off topic, but how I used air energy. For me specifically, I didn't really use my hands as much with this. It was more of being in a meditative state, so a posture, whatever you want to do. And I would just imagine opening my head like there's a hole here. And I would just kind of imagine just letting air kind of come through that and just kind of clearing things up. So I would use the element of air to just clear my mind. And yes, clear my mind. But also I changed my visual of things. This helped me a lot with like my thoughts. I'd imagine myself high on a cloud and looking down, like I'm looking on the ground, and the ground represented my thoughts. So I was above my thoughts. So it didn't affect me the way other people, they say, oh, my thoughts, I can't control my thoughts. They always bother me, things like that. I found that if you kind of visualize, you don't have to maybe use my visual, but if you visualize yourself above your thoughts, it helps tremendously. And what I mean by that, to give you a little bit of a detail, is you can imagine your thoughts being like an ocean, and you can imagine yourself being like flying above the ocean and just looking down like, these are my thoughts. So you have this like disattachment from your thoughts. You're able to look and you're like, okay, I see that, but it's not affecting me. So I learned that with air. And then clarity. There's a lot of moments where we all go through life, and 1 minute we're really high, we're really up here, we have a lot of the energy, or we have a lot of like awareness, truths, all that good cute little stuff. And then we go through life, we go through that work week, and we kind of drop down a bit. So air taught me a lot of stuff, like learning how to use those moments of clarity. And I had to learn from air, and the energy of air is that sometimes you may not be clear, you may not have clarity 24 hours a day, but the moments where you feel like you're at that point and you're dropping, that's when you really need that clarity, and it'll surprisingly bring you back up. And I've used that a lot. Even when I don't want to use it, it just comes naturally, and I'm just like, okay, let me just use this. But I use that energy a lot for myself. But if you want to use this energy, if you need to use your hands for it, you can. I would just imagine. You can do them. You can honestly. I want to recommend get very playful and get very creative. There's no right or wrong way. Me, I like simple, so I would just imagine like I have holes in my hand and there's just air coming out of it. I would do that. Or if I'm like in my moment where I want to be a kid, I just imagine like my hands are like clouds and it just feels good, and I run the clouds into my head and then like get clarity on what I need. If you want to use it on others, you can do whatever visual you want with air. And I would say use air in the mind. That's what I would recommend. I don't. You can use it wherever. I recommend in the mind because that's where I've learned that it works best. So I'd bring the energy around into the headspace, and then I just imagine just letting the air just flow and just like clear their mind and things like that. So you can use the energy in that way. And remember that this energy is already in you. You're just using the elements to trigger it. So the next element would be fire. And fire has been a very interesting journey for me. I learned that I had a lot of fears with fire. And there's a lot of lies about myself, and fire revealed that for me. And one of the things I would say is fire is that element that reveals a lot of things to you, can really cleanse some stuff, like really cleanse some stuff. But I learned that fire isn't just about anger. Because when I first started my like energy journey, I used fire for like anger to kind of like ignite things in me to do certain things. So I use it at a basic level. But I learned that I had to stop using it as anger because that's all I seen. Like, I don't know, every time you watch any show or anything that has fire, it's usually with destruction, or it's usually with anger, or who is it? I think what is that people? The devil. They use him with fire and things. You're gonna burn in hell, shit like that. So I had these false perceptions, belief, and lies about fire. And it took some time. I was very resistant to fire when I first got introduced to my element, well, so to say. And he worked with me and told me a lot of stuff straight up. But I kind of want to, before I say how to use energy, I want to say this just so this may clear up any blocks. I've learned that fire has tones to it. And what I mean by tones is that fire isn't all about destruction. And really, I've learned that it's really not even destruction. It's transformation. And that's a big thing, like the change from destruction to transformation. But if you want to use destruction, there's a game, literally as a game of creation and destruction. Sometimes before creation, there's things that need to be destroyed, but when you really look at it from a bigger picture and a spiritual picture, it's actually transformative. It's transforming in energy. So nothing is ever really destroyed, it's just transformed. So that's a big thing that I had to really kind of clean out of my head. What I mean by the tones is that if you see fire, sometimes fire can be like a little light. I learned that it's really light for me. It was light. Then, it can be a small little flame. It can be used for warmth. It could just be used for a variety of different things. So there's different tones to fire. It's just as if like you're using your oven or you're using your stove. You keep it at low. It's not going to really burn nothing or cook anything too much, but it keeps it warm. And you can turn the dial up and then you can burn some shit with that. But I had to have this moment of understanding that about it. Another thing is too, when I want to say the lies, the biggest lie for me is that I always thought that my core personality or energy kind of was more in water, but I learned that it was in fire. And because I had all those fears and false beliefs that kind of like really held me back from that part of myself, that fiery part of myself or my energy. And I learned that I am when I get there, I'm a very extreme person. I may not show it, I may talk very chill, but it's when I'm in those moments or when I'm doing stuff, inside I'm very extreme. Like I need to do this, I have it a certain way, but on the outside I'm very calm and things like that. And it's not that I'm hiding it, it's just, that's just how I designed myself, whatever. So once I cleared out all of those things about fire, then I was able to do stuff with it the right, better way. So sometimes when the biggest thing is when you're cold, and I use this all the time. My brother, and even when I'm cold sometimes, my brother uses this on me all the time. But when you're cold, you can actually use the element of fire to evoke like your body to warm up faster. How I would do it, I would just imagine you can be extreme or you can be chill, however you want to do it. But I just imagine my body either depending on how hot I want to be or warm. I'd imagine there is either like a red glow like on my skin, so like my skin is like red and it's glowing red, so that could be like warmth. Or if I really need to heat up, I'd imagine like my body is like there's this fire around my body, and that warms me up. So it's a mind thing too. So using your mind to like utilize the energy and do all those different things, I would do that to warm myself up, or whatever type of thing. If I'm cold, and I would tell my brother like I'm cold, he would always say, okay, warm yourself up, and I'm like, I don't feel like. He's like, well, sucks for you, you know how to do it. So he throws me under the bus all the time, and he just doesn't care. But you can use fire to heal yourself, or cleanse some things. I've learned that when there's some stuff that's really stuck in there and it's not moving with any other element that I'm using to heal with it, I'll use fire to kind of burn and cleanse it out and pretty much transform the energy and bring it back to to a different state than it was before, so a purified state. Another thing is that I use fire to bring the energy of fire to bring clarity and light in different parts. So if I'm using it for myself and meditation, I would evoke that energy. And I may go into a place and it's very dark. And when I say dark, I don't mean like, oh, dark, but I mean like I don't have clarity on it. So I'd use light. As if you're in a dark cave, you need light to see. So I would use that to see things about myself, and that will cause healing. Or in others, I'd run the biggest thing is, yeah, with others, when I run the fire element in them, I use it more of it as an ignition in their body. So I would cleanse it out. At the same time, I would use fire element to jumpstart things or whatever it is. So you can use the element of fire in a variety of different ways. I recommend you build a relationship with fire yourself so you can learn how you can utilize it. I utilize it in multiple and different ways. And you'll find there's even deeper levels to like fire, stuff like that. But the last element though is lightning. And lightning is, how can I put this? Lightning is a very interesting element to use. And I want to say it's not for everyone. I'm going to say that now. So if you try to use it and it doesn't work for you, don't feel bad. It's an element that's not really for everyone. But or it's really an element that's not really used too much. But what I learned is lightning is very precise. Very precise, raw power, and there's no control over it. You don't control lightning. So that is an element completely in its own realm of things. But how I use it is I'll use it for precision. Like if I'm doing not procedure, but if I'm healing someone, I need to be very precise on a specific part of their body that needs to be healed. I'll use a bit of the lightning energy. Sometimes as well, I'll go to lightning and get back into that realm of raw power that's not controlled, because I sometimes find myself wanting to control certain things like my energy or my outcome, instead of allowing it to just flow like it needs to sometimes. And sometimes I get myself in that, but I know to go back to lightning to evoke that. So that's something as well that I use for. That's my doggy in the background. That's something that I use for that. Matter of fact, hey Noah, come here. Smile for the camera. This is my little man here. Yeah. He went to the beach and he's been excited ever since. You're in a vlog, buddy. Yeah. I ain't even thought my door was closed. But I'm gonna do a vlog. Sit here. So, yes. So I would use the lightning just for precision and things like that. So again, you can, with that element, that's something that you'd have to develop your own relationship with and learn how to utilize it. But I just use it for different purposes. If I do use it in a healing, it's really for something very precise and something that needs a real like jolt to heal it. That's in extreme cases, but yeah. How I would utilize that. If you ever watched a show called Static Shock, he was like this guy who had lightning, or whatever, electricity abilities. I would kind of do stuff like that. Or again, go with the basics. Imagine your hand is emitting lightning and you're using that on your body, and different things, or play with it. It can be very high powered for some people. Again, it's an energy that's very raw, so you have to develop a relationship with it. I'm gonna keep saying that for some people because sometimes it could get like, whoa, okay, I don't know how to use this energy, and you have to get into a state of like not trying to control it. So again, yeah, you can use simple exercises. You can imagine like your arm is emitting lightning, things like that. So that is pretty much what I wanted to kind of give you guys some information on how to use the elements. That was my basics when it came to utilizing the elements. I'll make more vlogs on this soon about, you know, the steps I took to get to where I'm at with utilizing the energy, because once you kind of get used to energy around you, you can take it to a whole new level, to a whole new realm of things, even places that like you have never seen or thought to even utilize energy. So, and it keeps going. You never stop with it. But again, I just wanted to make that let you guys know about that. So yes, I'm going to end the vlog here, and with that being said, I will talk to you soon. Later.